Hello and welcome to match 3 against Rabid. So first of all, first game was actually quite long. I think my recording is at around 45 minutes for this, but it is actually a lot more interesting than the time would suggest. So looking at the board, the first thing that came to my mind was Young Witch. Alright, how is Young Witch gonna play here? The Bane is Crossroads, which is not so good. Crossroads early is kinda a gamble. Sometimes it works, sometimes it's okay, sometimes it's really good. Can't really be sure of how it's gonna play, but eventually I realized, okay, if you go Young Witch, there's save on the board, so somebody can buy their Crossroads and then keep saving that Crossroads to completely kill the Young Witch if they want to do that. If they want to do that. So of course I'm thinking about Young Witch because I have 3-4 on the board. My opponent has 5-2 and he goes for the replace. Replace seems to be another excellent card here, and actually Replace is perhaps a more reliable junker on this kingdom than the Young Witch. Not only that, but it can turn your coppers into nice 2 costs which exist on the board. Courtyard, Crossroads. You will want a Crossroads, I feel, for some sorcerer plus action. So I'm going to open with a Replace myself here, but by saving a copper. My opponent will get to pair his Replace with something nice though, either Courtyard or Crossroads. So what I was looking at when looking at the kingdom was that, okay, if I can activate Conspirators, that would be quite nice. Honestly, that would be quite nice. And I think I could do it, but you need a bit of setup to get it going. So maybe something like Crown Courtyard into Conspirators, or maybe you could get a Crossroads trigger, then a Courtyard, then play the Conspirators. So it is possible, but you have to work for it. Here is not going to come very easily. So my opponent, he picks up a Miser here on turn 3. Now this was very interesting to me. Now, usually when you pick up Miser early is kind of a tempo hit you're taking, meaning that you're going to spend most of your turns, if you use the Miser that is, to put things onto the mat, and it means you won't be able to afford a 4 cost, if you, for example, or a 5 cost, because you've taken one of the money cards out of your hand, put it onto the mat for that turn. So it is a kind of a tempo hit, so I was very interested to see him go for Miser. I did consider it on the opening. I didn't want to go for it because I thought, well, it might be a bit too slow, but my opponent thinks otherwise. Now here on 4, again the Miser is in my mind. Conspirator is also an option, but I choose to instead save an estate just for good practice so that I don't forget the save. There's no real reason for me to keep the save. And I buy a silver. Silver will help me to get to 5 on this board. I think I'll just need the 1 silver to do so because there's save around to help my situation. So my opponent, he trashes an estate with the replace here, and he's going to take a conspirator, I believe. Now I don't think he can activate that conspirator yet. If it's not the conspirator, it's a guide which he top decks here. So yeah, it is a guide which he top decks. The conspirator he can't activate right away, and the guide is going to be nice, very nice, because the Crossroads, Courtyard, Crown Conspirator thing mightn't always work. You mightn't draw the right starting hand to have that happen. So the guide is very nice insurance. So top decking the Courtyard here and then buying the Crossroads because I know there's no estate in the next card. So as it turns out, the Crossroads would have been a better top deck here. There's no way for me to know that I would draw into 2 estates. I figure the Courtyard was just the safer thing to do. It provides me a bit more search space to find my replace, for example, and try to get this deck rolling as quickly as possible. So out comes the Miser here. My opponent picks up a Crossroads of his own. So what I'm trying to do here is, like I mentioned, set up the Crossroads Courtyard thing, but I want to do so while keeping the estates in my deck. So I'm going to use the replace to get rid of the coppers to turn into Courtyards, for example, and perhaps a second Crossroads, and hopefully I can get some nice triggers off of the Crossroads by keeping those green cards in the deck. Hopefully, that's my hope. I don't know if that's wise to do or not, if I should just be turning the estates into conspirators or guides or whatever, but I am gonna try for this Crossroads with the estates in my deck. Now 5 here, I think about Crown, but decide on Festival instead, and I top deck the estate here and saved 1, knowing that there was the Crossroads in the bottom 6 cards. Guess where the Crossroads is? On top of the deck, and 3 estates are here. This would have been a great tempo play if this replaced with one of the coppers was a crossroads instead, but it's not. Instead, it's just the replace here, and I am gonna save an estate again because I know the crossroads is at the top of the deck, so at least I can make it draw one card, which is helpful. This is a nicer starting hand, of course. So the reason for the festival over the crown. So the festival is there for the plus buy, and I can make use of the plus buy. It's also there for plus actions, which can be handy. But the plus buy is also useful because of the cheap cards in the bottom left there, the crossroads and the courtyard. I can still pick those up on, perhaps a good hand or so. And the actions are going to be quite useful. Quite useful. So I'm able to draw here a couple times with the courtyard, which is real nice. In the meantime, my opponent has turned, I think, 2 of his estates into guides and conspirators respectively as a second conspirator. Now I have none. I have none yet, but I'm not too interested in getting a conspirator unless I can successfully trigger a conspirator. Yeah. Otherwise, I think it's kind of a waste. Kind of a waste. Maybe just one is okay, but otherwise, no. Not for what I'm trying to do here. I'm trying to build up some kind of reliability before I can trigger these conspirators. So, again, put back an estate at the top of the deck, and I top deck a courtyard here, and knowing that there's a festival in the back, so festival courtyard will trigger for sure. No point to saving the estate here because there's no crossroads in the back, and I would like to spend my $5 here to pick up a crown. So I quite like the crown now. Really like the crown now. I can crown many things. Crowning replace is nice. If I have enough targets, crowning courtyard is very nice. And about this time, I'm starting to think about picking up the conspirators. I would love though to have guides. My opponent has 2 of them. I would absolutely love to have guides, but I'm not really finding the time to do so. So his Miser comes out again. I think this is the second time. So it came out early, like on turn 3 or something, turn 3, and then again very late here on turn 8. Very late on turn 8. In the meantime, my opponent is doing other things with his deck. So he now picks up a festival, which I think makes sense for him. Drawing to all 3 estates here. The estates are not cooperating with me at all so far. Put back 1 because, well, the crossroads is in there. Hopefully it'll find the estate. If not, I'm going to guarantee that it finds the estate by putting 1 on top of the deck. And now I'm able to purchase a conspirator with some degree of confidence that it will draw me a card. So as it turns out, the crossroads was there, but Dominion is a funny game. If it can happen, you should try as best as possible to accommodate for that possibility. So now it seems like we're building the same kind of deck here. The only difference, well, 2 differences actually, is that my opponent, he has a Miser, which is becoming increasingly fat. Right now it's at 2, which is not scary, but once it goes beyond that, it starts to become a little more scary. The second difference is that he has 2 guides, which is also very scary. It means he's allowed a stall turn or 2 if he has those guys on the mat. So he called his guide here, I believe, and he was able to salvage the turn. That's very good for him. I don't have any of those things, and about halfway through the game, about here, I was wondering, wait, how is it that this man was able to do all of these things? How does he have a Miser sitting at 2 coins and 2 guides sitting on the mat? I don't understand this. So somehow he was able to pilot his deck that well to where, like, he's on par with me. He doesn't have a crown. I have a crown. So that's the only difference. Like, only advantage, so to speak, that I have, which I make use of here, crowning the courtyard. But he has a bunch more things as compensation for the crown. He has a Miser. He has the 2 guides. I feel like that's adequate compensation. It might even be, ahead in the deck building thing here. So I'm not sure whether it was smart at all to keep his estates into the deck. He's able to get 3 triggers off of his conspirators here, plus get the festival down, plus get Mr. Miser down, and things start to look bleak. Mr. Miser is on 3, is worth as much as a gold. He has 9 and 2 buys here, and picks up conspirator and crown. Not looking good so far, but I'm not too far behind. So playing the conspirators first here, hopefully trying to find some green so the crossroads can finally draw more than one card. It has not done so for the entire game and continues with that trend. I do have an option to replace first here and then draw the replaced thing, but I choose not to do that. I choose instead just to set up my next turn with the replace. So I'm going to put back an estate, and this time I am going to finally replace one of my estates. I really want the conspirators at this stage. My opponent has quite a bit of them, and I don't want him to win the split because it's a lot of money, a lot of reliable money too, if you could set up your deck. So the conspirator is on top of the deck, a crossroads goes back with an estate, so I should be okay to trigger, and I pick up the last two conspirators. So I think that split ends up at 5 each, which I'm content with. And now I have to start, well, I would like to start looking at crowns and courtyards to put into my deck just to make things a bit more reliable. So my opponent has another good turn here so far already, right? Just 8 and 2 buys, that's pretty good as is. He's going to get the replace out and turn a copper into a courtyard. And Miser comes out, and Miser goes to 4. Oh my, Miser is rich now from his miserly ways, and picks up a festival and a guy. The festival makes perfect sense for him given that his Miser is at 4. He has a lot of money, and it is very sad often to see 16 and 1 buy, for example. So festival I agree with for him there. So now, seeing the fat miser and the two guides, I figure, look man, you can't let this game go on for too much longer, because the miser will just kill you and the guides will make sure that the miser kills you. So I am going to start to press for the end of the game here. How I do that is with provinces. I can't really empty piles that quickly. I can much faster empty the provinces, and I also get points for my troubles. So I do pick up a couple provinces here after saving the second crossroads. I was actually slightly impressed that I was able to come up with that much money. I didn't think I had that much money in the deck, but that's conspirator for you, right? I don't mind putting the provinces into my deck either, because I have crossroads, which I intended from the beginning to use as draw, but didn't pan out, still doesn't pan out here. And maybe the extra estates can come into play at the end here, maybe. So my opponent, he thinks for a bit here and comes up with turning one of his conspirators into a crown, and then using that second crown on the miser. So that is 8 coins already just from crowning miser. Just from crowning miser, he can buy a province. I don't want to have to deal with that. So it might actually be already too late for me. I've tried to force the game to a game end, but he actually comes up with $21 here and 3 buys. 3 buys. So it does allow him to go for province, and a third crown. So I'm not sure if he's able to save anything here, but with the couple guides on his mat, he should be fairly safe from stalling. So an interesting point to note about this play from my opponent is that taking 2 provinces out of the pile does actually leave me with a small possibility of finishing the game on a win. If I'm able to have a very good draw, and that would mean starting with something like crossroads and 5 green cards, it would be possible for me to go ahead and do something like crown replace, turn 2 provinces into 2 provinces, and then buy the last 2 provinces, because presumably then I can crown a conspirator as I did last turn to get enough money to do that. So it does open him up to me, like I don't know, what is that, a 1% chance of, I have no idea if 1% is the right number there at all, but very small, I feel, possibility of being able to end the game with a win, but I think he has to go for it there. As it is, I don't get the draw necessary to come out with the win, but what I am going to do instead is take as many provinces out of the pile as possible, because in the same way that I can crown replace is the same way he can crown replace. So if I leave less provinces, there's less things that he can replace into. Alternatively, crowning replace has the nice advantage that, well, not advantage, but the nice little property that you get to junk your opponent. It's actually a 7 point swing when you replace into province. Like if you replace a gold into province, not replace province into province. So this is also a bit awkward here with the deck. I'm not able to nicely top deck the crossroads for next turn because I would like to play the conspirator to be able to buy 2 provinces. So slightly awkward. I can't even leave a green card on top of the deck and then save the crossroads or something. So I mean, whatever. You have to do what you have to do, right? So I am gonna churn 1 province out of the pile with the replace and buy a couple more and just hold on and hope that he can't win. Although I feel like it's real easy for him to win. Right? He just needs a province and 3 duchies to win, and he just needs to use his replace once on one of those piles to come out with a win, I believe. So I'm 15 points down, so province and 3 duchies would do it. 15 points ahead, sorry. And once he uses the replace to get one of those green cards, so replace maybe a conspirator or something into a duchy, then should be good to go. Should be good to go. Although I'm not entirely certain how easy it is for him to finish the game here. What ends up happening actually is very, very surprising to me. Very shocking. He stalls. Amazing. Amazing. I asked him after the game what happened there. He said all his crossroads were at the bottom of the deck, which is real sad for him. I thought he had a good shot at winning, if not guaranteed, if he had drawn through his deck, but as is, he is only able to pick up, I believe, a duchy and an estate, and given this starting hand, finally, the crossroads comes with more than one green card, finally. Given this starting hand, I should be okay to find enough for the last province, and I actually come out with the win here. I come out with enough money, alternatively replacement to province would have been sufficient. So yeah, shockingly I won this game. Shockingly I won this game. So that is the first game for you. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next one.